Okay, hopefully.
Can you hear me now? We are? Great, okay. Stephanie, can you hear me now? Great, thank you. Thank you, Taylor. Okay, good evening. My name is Richard Tapia, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services for Riverbank Unified School District. And welcome to our distance learning presentation round 2. I want to welcome Superintendent Fasella, who is in the room and will be answering the chat box. And I want to thank and Erica Ramos will be responding to questions in Spanish. So thank you for that support. Before we get started, I want to thank our IT department for working diligently to make this work. I do want to apologize for last week's 100 limit. I take full responsibility for that. We should have run a test on that previous, and we did not do that. So that's why we're coming back with round 2, which is also beneficial because we have a lot more information to share. And I have a presentation that I'll be working through to share as much information as possible. And then I would ask you to hold all questions until we get through the PowerPoint presentation, because I'm hoping to answer a bulk of your questions with the information that I'll be sharing. And then I also have a list of questions that people have shared with us that I will be responding to as we work through the presentation, or when the presentation is over. So again, welcome, thank you, and let's get started. I wanted to begin with defining for you what the difference is between what we encountered last spring with crisis instruction versus what we are planning to do this fall with distance learning. Crisis instruction last spring was a program where we held students harmless. We basically issued paper packets. We had a community in crisis, and we really wanted to work on supporting our students in SEL. We only had devices available for students in 7th through 12th grade. At that time, we had limited teacher professional development, and we had no timeline. The goal initially was that we would be back probably after spring break. Well, as we all know, that never took place. So we struggled through last spring under a crisis situation. Where this fall, we are initiating a distance learning program. We still have a community in crisis. We understand that. There's a lot of people out there that are struggling financially, socially, emotionally, and our students as well. And so we are considering that, and that will be at the forefront of the instruction and the practices that we implement this fall. But this fall, there will be accountability for students and teachers. We will be taking attendance. We have an identified number of minutes that we will be providing instruction. We will have daily live interaction. We will be implementing assessments. We have no timeline, but this is the plan until further notice. And there will be a transition between the distance learning plan and any adjustment to it. We know, and research shows, that coming back to school and having students on campus is the best practice for us. But given this pandemic and given our present situation, we will be following the directives of our public health officials related to that. So that's where we are at this time. Next, I want to share with you the schedule of minutes per AB Assembly Bill 77. So the state has provided guidelines for us regarding instructional minutes at grade level. Our transitional kindergarten and kindergarten students are expected to be involved in instruction for 180 minutes on a daily basis. Our first, second, and third grade students, 230 minutes on a daily basis. Our 4th through 8th grade students, 240 minutes on a daily basis. And our high school students, 240 minutes on a daily basis. Now let's talk about the difference between synchronous and asynchronous, I struggle with that word, instruction. Basically, Synchronous is students are online, interacting live, or on video with teachers and classmates, doing instruction and completing activities. Asynchronous is independent work, where they're completing tasks, assessments, and other activities. Here's a question. A discussion thread, is a discussion thread asynchronous or synchronous? I think we would have thoughts on both sides of the table, but the big plus with discussion threads online is that students are interacting and learning from one another. And so that's what we're trying to emulate, and that's what we're trying to create in our distance learning, that they have the same activities to engage with the teacher and with their classmates in different modalities. So there you have that. So next, I'm going to share with you the school information regarding where we are with dissemination of information from each school. The one thing I would like to share with you is that anytime you're on a school campus, you do need to wear a mask. So please make sure that you bring a mask, that you have a mask on, and that your students have a mask on while they're working through this communication and engagement process. Let's start with California Avenue, the home of the Jaguars. Their information is posted on their Facebook page and their website. A letter to families was put in the mail today, so you should be receiving that here expeditiously. Kinder orientation plans are presently being scheduled and will be shared if they haven't been shared with you already. Chromebook schedules, pickup schedules are also posted on their website, and that information will also be in the letters that are being sent home. And I know that they've held RAME parent orientations, and further parent orientations are in the works. Now information for Mesa Verde Elementary School. Mesa Verde is working on posting their information on their website, and will be sending letters home regarding school information tomorrow. Kinder orientations are presently being planned, and parents will be communicated with that information. Chromebook distribution info will be forthcoming. Keep an eye on their webpage, but there will also be information sent home. Let's stop here for a second and talk a little bit about Kinder orientation and Kinder school, TK and Kinder this year. Those Chromebooks and that information and that instruction will be progressive. And what we mean by that, and I shared this last week, is that initially it will start with connecting through the device, through the Chromebooks. We'll ask parents to sign their students on and get their students regulated on the device. They'll hopefully have some interaction with their teachers and with their classmates, and then as their experience and expertise in the use of the technology improves, they will.
Valerie says she can't hear you.
That instruction will increase. So TK and K is a different animal.
That's what I heard.
One of the things I want to share with you related to that is that TK and K are something that we're really working on, that we really want to make sure that we're making connections, because it's about relationships and it's about socialization with those students. So your kindergarten teachers are hard at work with that information and putting that together to welcome our newest and our youngest students to school for the school year. Cardozo Middle School. Cardozo has their roundup scheduled for tomorrow, Thursday, July 30th, and Friday, July 31st. Info has been shared as part of a dialer that was sent to families, and that information will be posted on the CMS website. They have activities, or not activities, but they have information about Chromebook distribution and about schedule information. And we'll get into the schedules a little bit more later on in this presentation. And then Riverbank High School. Riverbank High School has Bruin Days set up for tomorrow and Friday. 9th grade is from 8 to 11:30 on Thursday. 10th grade is from 12 to 3 on Thursday. 11th grade is from 9 to 11 on Friday. And 12th grade is from 12 to 3 on Friday. Schedules and information will be distributed at this time, and all of this information about what grade levels and who goes at what particular time is posted on their website. So Riverbank High School has their schedule up and ready to go. We will talk a little bit about everyone's schedule as we get to that portion of the presentation. Adelante High School. Adelante High School students have been or are being contacted by phone. The calls started Monday, July 27th, and should be completed by Thursday, which is tomorrow. If you are an Adelante High School student and are not contacted by tomorrow, July 30th in the afternoon, call the school office. The Adelante, well, we'll get to that in terms of the schedule. So now I'd like to share with you what is a very general elementary school sample schedule. What does the day look like at elementary school? So I kind of delineated the periods for you in terms of time blocks. The teachers at each grade level will delineate what happens during these particular class periods. So as one example, the morning meeting will take place from 8:30 to 8:55. The class period, whether it be ELA or math, will take place between 9:20 and 9:50. There'll be a break in the morning. There'll be a class period from 10 to 10:40. There'll be a class period from 10:40 to 11:20. Then there'll be a break. Then there'll be support instruction like small group, independent work, and interventions. And then teachers will have office hours from 1:30 to 2. Now this is a sample that follows the guidelines of AB 77. And this will be adjusted by grade level and by school. But recognizing that the bulk of the day will happen in the morning, and that in the afternoon will be the opportunity when the afternoon will be the opportunity for interventions. I see that there's a question here related to RLA.
Oh, good, I don't have to answer it.
This is a RLA is scheduling and projecting their own information. These are for the two elementary schools in Riverbank Unified, Mesa Verde, and Cal Avenue. RLA will be sharing their information separately. Let's move to the middle school example. What does a middle school example look like? And this, again, this is a very general example that I'm sharing with you. I'm sharing with you mostly this information so that you have an understanding of what the time blocks look like in terms of when your students will be engaged in periods or classes. So the daily schedule at the middle school goes, teachers will start with office hours where students can contact teachers with questions or inquiries or concerns. There'll be a class period from 9 to 9:50, a class period from 9:50 to 11:20. That may not be one class period, but it is that time that they will be expected to be in class. There'll be a break. Then there's a class period, 2 class periods in the afternoon, and the teachers will have office hours in the from 2 to 2:41. And this is a very general example of the Cardozo middle school schedule. They will be on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday schedule. They will cover their classes in that format, and we will be more specifically shared with you. Wednesday will be an all-day schedule, so it'll be a little bit different than this. Wednesdays will be adjusted for teacher professional development. The schedule, as I shared, will be posted on the website and is included in the letter that will be handed out at Roundup in the next 2 days. So this is just the middle school and the high school schedules are just really kind of general schedules that we are looking at and sharing with you so that you have an idea of what your student's day will look like, what your child's day will look like. Let's move on to the high school sample schedule. The high school will also work on a Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday schedule with classes specific on Monday, Thursday, other specific classes on Tuesday, Friday. Wednesday will be a full day that will be shortened also for professional development. So again, teachers will start the day with office hours. Students can contact teachers with questions or concern. Class period from 9 to 10:20. Class period from 10:30 to 11:50. A break from 11:50 to 12:30. Class period from 12:30 to 1:50. And then teacher office hours from 2 to 3 o'clock. Students can contact teachers with questions. Students can phone or have virtual appointments with teachers during that time. And as I shared, this schedule is also a general schedule. The definitive one is posted on the RHS website. RHS will also run a Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday schedule like CMS, with Wednesday being an adjusted day for teacher PD. And so if you take a look at the Riverbank High School website, Mr. Diaz has already posted that schedule. The school has already posted that schedule, and that's more definitive. I'm just sharing a general snapshot of it so you have an idea of what your high school students' day will look like. Let's move on to the Adelante High School sample. Adelante has also posted their schedule on their website, and they are also running a Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday schedule with live office hours on Wednesdays for students and teachers to communicate and collaborate. Their daily schedule will be teachers organizing their instruction from 8 to 8:25. They will have a class period from 8:30 to 9:30. They will have a class period from 9:40 to 10:40 with a break from 10:40 to 10:50 and a class period from 10:50 to 11:50, and then teachers' office hours from 12 to 1. As I shared with you, if you're an Adelante student that is not communicated with by tomorrow afternoon, please reach out to the office so you can get the information regarding your schedule and regarding your enrollment. And then what I've shared here is the any particular specific questions. Cardozo and Riverbank High School students will have the opportunity to get those answered when they visit on Thursday and Friday during the roundup at Cardozo and the Bruin Day at the high school. Remember, when you come on campus, remain in the vehicle unless you have an appointment or need to get a question answered. And please, while you're interacting with our staffs at at all of our schools, make sure you yourself and your family have masks. Thank you. So here's the contact information for California Ave. Kathy Briggs and Erica Ramos are two administrators at that school. Mesa Verde, Kim Ott, Cardozo Middle School, Mr. Bazzini, and we have a new assistant principal at Cardozo, Ms. Azevedo, who joins us this year. And then at Riverbank High School, Ms. Felix, Mr. Vaca, and then Mr. Vaca as the lead administrator at Adelante High School. Okay, wanted to share with you regarding Chromebook insurance. And Chromebook insurance is necessary because of the daily wear and tear students place on Chromebooks, and it supports the opportunity for us to repair the devices. This is a program that is currently in place from 7th to 12th grade and will now be extended from TK to 12. Chromebook insurance is $15 per Chromebook for a maximum of $45 per family. So if you have 3 kids, 1 to 3 kids, it's $15 per student, and any student after that, if you have 4 kids, 5 kids, 6 kids, it's a maximum of $45 for the entire family. So as I shared, Chromebook insurance is something that we've already run a program from 7th through 12th grade. Now we're just sending it to the lower grades where we'll be issuing those Chromebooks. All right, well, that comes to the end of our presentation. I want to thank you for your attention, and then we will I will attempt. Let me answer the last question that was shared by Tiffany. You have that one, Ms. Fasella?
I said call the school.
Well, if you already have your ID, you do the information is on the website about you bringing your ID. Okay, I'm going to go through. I'm going to answer some general questions that were posed. These may be repeats of information that we shared last week, but I kind of want to go through some of the ones to make sure that we are on page. So teachers will be communicating the TKK process, and then as I shared, orientations are scheduled and will be communicated from the schools. I know that Cal Ave has already completed their kindergarten TK&K orientation schedule, and we'll be working on getting that information out, and Mesa Verde Elementary is not far behind. We also shared about what we expect kindergartners at this time, TK&K students. At this time, we'll be issuing Chromebooks to TK&K students to make connections with their teachers and classmates on a daily basis. We will also be providing paper pencil packets for students to complete and return to their teachers. Teachers will share a schedule with you regarding pickup and drop off of materials. As the program progresses, student activity engagements will progress also. In discussions with our TK and kinder teachers, they are getting very creative in terms of some of the activities and some of the skills that we would like to see our kindergarten students engage in. So there will be a discussion with you as parents, with your TK and K students, about alternative manners in which to measure and share information and activities that our TK and K students will be engaged in. One that I just shared with Ms. Ott, our principal at Mesa Verde, is a cutting activity. You know, that dexterity that we need our kindergarten students to develop. So we will be developing and putting out some activities for you to engage in at home with your students, and then be able to share that information in one form or another with their teachers in terms of their progress in that process. Just one example. As we shared with you earlier, the state instruction required minutes are 180, but remember that's a combination of asynchronous and synchronous interaction. So that time on, we want to minimize that time on the FaceTime, I guess we should say, or screen time, and work through that with activities and other interactions. And then this question was the question I was alluding to earlier that I wanted to speak to specifically. May parents choose which distance learning activities to engage their TK children in and which to not. And so I just wanted to remind you that TK and K are not compensatory, which means students and parents are not held accountable to attend school during those 2 school years. Once a student and family do enroll and attend school, they are held to school guidelines. So if you enroll your student in TK, the expectation is that you would be participating on a regular basis with the activities and the expectations of the school site. Let's talk a little bit about our plan for when we do return to school, what our alternative distance learning plan will look like. And so we did share a little bit about our virtual instructional program. That is the one option that we have available once we do return to school. There will be more information. The guidelines and the application are online. We are keeping that process open for the time being, but there will be more information forthcoming about a deadline related to that for enrollment, so we can prepare when we eventually come back to school and make sure that we have enough support and enough adults working that program to make it effective and possible in the when we do return.
Gary Vernon.
The question here was, would my child have to remain on that option for the entire year or just during the pandemic? Remember, students will be allowed to return if we return and when we return, students will be allowed to return, and students decide to stay on the distance learning program, on the VIP program, they will be allowed to return after the current grading period is completed. And then this is one of the guidelines that we will be working on, but notification to the district will have to be made 30 days prior to the end of that grading period. So if the grading period ended on Friday, you could let us know on Friday that you want to come back on Monday. There will be a timeline related to that. Right now we're looking at 30 days prior to the end of the grading period. Will there be IT available for unseen obstacles with electronics or the use of programs that will be used? Yes. It is our IT team will be available during school hours to respond to student and family needs. And you see that we have them. Stop. Great. Okay. Thank you. As we experience technical difficulties, and what the timing of that question? Yes, our IT team will be available for students to troubleshoot issues. As we shared earlier, we were more in a crisis learning format in the spring. Now we are more in a distance learning format. We plan on using 2 formats, Google Classroom and Microsoft Meets. And those two formats are user-friendly and easy to operate. And we are definitely planning on scheduling online opportunities for parent education and the technology we will use in RUSD. There was a multitude of questions related to getting grades for work, student growth being monitored, rigor of assessments, expectations. Teachers will share specifics and guidelines related to participation, attendance, and grades. And so this is the accountability part for both the teachers and for the students, that yes, activities, assignments, school lessons, and homework, for lack of a better term, will be submitted, and we will
Good question about high school.
sorry.
That's why I said damage Chromebooks.
And we will be, that's where the accountability comes in,
I need to
related
contact
to
us.
that. So, in terms of the rigor and whatnot.
Google Classroom, what was the other?
Google Classroom, and the other was Microsoft Teams.
For any current damaged Chromebooks, they need to contact support. Don't go to the site. They'll be busy.
Thank you. Mr. Henderson, our IT manager, is also sitting in the room managing all this technology, so thank you for that, Mr. Henderson. But if you have any questions related to a damaged Chromebook that you presently have in your possession, make an appointment or fill out a ticket through support at riverbank.k12.ca.us. That support line will initiate a ticket, and they will be in contact with you to help you repair that Chromebook. That will not take place, unfortunately, during the next 2 days. There'll be limited access because they will be at Cardozo and at Riverbank High, assisting them with Chromebook distribution. Okay, students in virtual classroom the whole time, how much time will be expected, how many hours a day. The state has delineated the student participation time and is counted during teacher-led instruction and independent practice time, so synchronous and asynchronous instruction. So those guidelines are the guidelines that we shared with you previously, and all of those minutes are incorporated in those instructional schedules that I shared with you, and that will be more specifically shared when you get that information from your school site. When county approves, will students have the option to go back classroom unit learning? Yes, we have a leveled phased implementation plan that we continue to develop. And as we shared earlier, the best instruction is instruction that's taking place on the ground. And so we look forward to having the opportunity to bring our students back on campus. But as of now, our county health official has directed us otherwise. And as you all know, the numbers here in Stanislaus County continue to increase significantly. And that is basically what is dictating the decision by the health officials. So wear your mask, wash your hands, and make sure you're social distancing. No large groups, and let's work together as a community. We're in this together, and let's support one another through this opportunity. Question about students who are struggling with a subject or student falls behind. Schools have defined a time for small group instruction and one-on-one support to take place online. And as our availability to bring students back on campus, we will be developing protocols for that as well. So we recognize that our students are and will be struggling with some of the instruction since we were in that crisis situation in the spring, and we look forward collectively to bring that back together. Can we get clarification on Chromebooks that are being handed out to students? Are they being loaned? All the students in the district will be issued Chromebooks with the same guidelines and expectation as our 7 to 12 students. A $15 insurance charge will be requested per Chromebook, $45 max per family. Our IT department will be available to support students and families by request. Parents have an opportunity to be surveyed on how things are going and the possibility to adjust instruction and format. Parents are always welcome to communicate any instructional concerns to their child's teacher and school leadership. And those office hours, that time for communication and interaction between students is also available to parents. So do not hesitate to reach out to your school leadership and to your site, to your specific teacher. If you have trouble with internet or you have a concern with internet, contact our IT department. Are we contacting our IT
Department? Yes.
And they will give you options related to internet connection and opportunities for that. What kind of training is being provided to the teachers to make distance learning successful this time around? Teachers have been participating in professional development all summer long, and then this is our goal for our shortened days on Wednesday, is to continue that professional development throughout the school year while we're on distance learning, creating opportunities for our teachers to work efficiently and effectively with your students in this distance learning format. At this time, we are scheduled to begin school next Thursday. Teachers will be online and ready to receive students online. All schools have scheduled their distribution of their devices previous to Thursday, and so Thursday we should hit the ground running. And one of the things I want to share with you is that it is a very fluid situation. This is the first time any of us have been through this kind of format where we have all 3,000 of our students online at the same time, pretty much at the same time. What I mean by that is that from some school or another, students will be online throughout the day. So we are going to be doing a test run of this process next week before school starts. And then we will be, just like you, addressing and working through questions, concerns, and situations as they present themselves. This afternoon or this evening, going on YouTube is one prime example. This is a new format for us, a new interaction with us through this YouTube live channel, and we've experienced a couple glitches. We won't be without glitches. Let me just front load you with that, be transparent about that. But believe you me, we will be working to the best of our ability with our IT department, with our school leadership, and with our teachers to make sure that those are limited interaction, limited disruptions. Can parents help teachers in the district achieve success through distance learning? Absolutely. Parents will support students as appropriate with time and space to participate and effectively complete tasks presented by the instructors. Parents can also support us by communicating necessary needs and support for effective student learning by contacting their instructor as necessary. So this is a joint effort between ourselves and our families and our parents. So we urge you, we recommend, we ask you to reach out and engage with your student, or excuse me, with your teachers, and supporting your students and asking your teachers manners in which you can expand those opportunities for that distance learning and for learning on for learning on at home
Or parent networking center.
Incidental learning. I think incidental learning is the biggest thing that we're going to miss by not being on campus. And what that means is students learning from one another and following the directives of dialogues and interactions in their classroom. And so trying to create some of those opportunities at home with your family will be of utmost importance. And we also know, again, that our community is in crisis, and that a lot of families are struggling with the technology, with finances, and all those issues. Please, we urge you to make sure that you're communicating your concerns, and any information that we can provide, any support we can provide, we will work as a team to get those things addressed. We did share with you Bruin Days and Cardozo Roundup, where students will get their IDs, or actually, if they have an ID, I think in sharing and talking with Mr. Diaz and seeing the information on the website, they need to bring their ID when they attend their Bruin Day time. And the process for new IDs is still being worked on, and that will be shared with you on your Bruin Day. I think we shared this one already. Students able to return to classroom learning, our virtual instructional program will be available for the remainder of the year. Scheduling in classes work with other siblings in different grades yet at the same school. That's a big one that we're going to need your help in. If you have multiple students that are working and are expected to be engaged at the same time, the kind of interactions and or disruptions that may take place at home are things that you're going to need to communicate with your teachers so that they can provide some flexibility in terms of, and some alternatives in terms of how that instruction will take place. So please do communicate any scheduling concerns or any information related to that. While we're on the topic of scheduling concerns, that is something that we recognize that as we work through our days and we work through our schedules, that there is going to be some overlap and there may be some competition, for lack of a better word, for internet access and whatnot. So please make sure that you are communicating that information with your instructors, with your teachers, so that we can address that as necessary. So students who cannot log on their designated time, there will be, that's where part of that synchronous and asynchronous instruction will happen. We are working with our teachers right now to look at specifically how that synchronous time will be shared later. We're working on having them video their lessons so that they're available for later times for students to be involved in the classroom. We're looking at interactive processes through Google Classroom that allow, even though the student may not be there to respond to the question at that instant, he will have an opportunity to see the dialogue that has taken place and engage in that dialogue at a later time. So those are some of the manners in which we're addressing that. And so that is not something that we've completely figured out how that's going to work. And again, being ultra transparent, it's something that as it presents itself and the concerns present themselves, we will address them to the best of our ability. Quick trial run for kids to connect before the first day of school. I'm rest assured that the trial run the trial run that we will be engaged in as a school community should handle any questions or concerns related to that. And then again, once you get the information related to your student's teacher, I think it would be great to email them ahead of time and make sure that maybe you can do a practice run with them per their availability. They will be working diligently on Monday and Tuesday of next week in professional development, so learning even more strategies and more information related to supporting your students online. So that may be a short order between now and when school starts, but definitely make sure that any questions or concerns are addressed. The question, the continual question about supporting students who need extra help and students who need additional resources. As we work through this process and those skills are identified in terms of where your students need to be supported and the extra help that needs to be happen will be addressed through some of the small group instruction, the teacher one-on-one instructional time, and some other resources that your teachers will identify once they become familiar with your students, recognize the needs of your students, and be able to support both the instruction and learning of your students through the year. Let's be 100% honest. This is not the perfect scenario, and there won't be perfect manners in which we can support, but we will all be working to the best of our abilities to support our students and to support our families, and to make them as successful as possible. Let's see.
Why did I drop my daughter in daycare? How will that work? I don't know.
They're asking the.
So one of the questions is that I have here, and I think this came up, was what if our daycare doesn't offer assistance for our kids to sign in for distance learning? Well, like we shared, that does not necessarily have to happen during that day. The communication needs to happen, or not during the day, during that time. The communication needs to take place, and you need to make sure that you're communicating with your teachers about when your students will be engaging in those lessons. There will be accountability for engaging in those lessons, activities that will be due on a daily basis in some form or another. And so signing in and communicating and making sure your students are interacting with their teacher, even if it's virtually by email or some form like that.
Sessions will be recorded though, right?
And sessions will be recorded as we shared. So those will be available for that during that time. So it's not necessarily that they have to be 100% online when their teacher's online, and those specific guidelines will be shared teacher by teacher. This is a great question. Are they going to be turning in paper homework too? Not all the activities that will be taken will be, that will be interactive and will be online. So there'll be no need for you to bring something back to the school or engage something back to the school. You absolutely will need to, all of that will be on technology. So how will they be participating in PE? They will be participating in PE with their PE teachers and with their instructional teachers. And those teachers will be planning activities, presenting videos, presenting skill challenges, doing all kinds of different interactive activities for your students to be participating in. We already reviewed the information related to your child's Chromebook and picking up those packages. Yet another question here: when our children go back to school, will there be guidelines in place for safety? Absolutely, we'll be following the CDC guidelines and the Stanislaus County Health guidelines related to that. I think we've answered those. And are there any burning questions that are coming up on the chat that I may not have addressed so far? None at this time? Okay. How will a child with an IEP or a 504 be supported, or students who are being seen by a therapist or other mental health team members? The special ed teachers and providers will be contacting students and parents on their caseload to discuss distance learning emergency plans for each student. And our mental health therapists will contact the students' parents to set up session once school starts. This was asked also about working with their special ed aides. That too will be communicated when the case managers engage with parents related to that. Let's see. I think we have a number of questions related to our RAME program. So, in the spring, RAME teachers were mixing languages during instruction. Will this be the case in the fall, or will there be the expectation that there will be 2 teachers, each with their designated language? For the fall, the teachers will be teaching their lessons in a specific language. There will be a designated Spanish time, English time, and Mandarin time. The time within each lesson, each session will depend on the allotted minutes based on the percentages of the distance learning, of the dual language program. So we will still be maintaining our dual language guidelines in terms of exposure to languages on a daily basis. How will the Mandarin teachers have a role or scheduled time? Will it only be 15 minutes a week like last spring? Mandarin will have a designated time for an everyday lesson instruction for grades 1 through 5. And that will be delineated with you when your schedule is shared with you. We will be working with them to develop a consistent schedule in which each teacher will have a time for their Mandarin lesson. It will probably be a minimum of 20 minutes for each lesson, and the amount of minutes will depend on the grade level and allotted time minutes for distance learning. So because we've diminished minutes of engagement for distance learning, those time limits will also be diminished. My son is supposed to start the RAME program. Is there a distance learning program for this? Kinder students will begin with distance learning, in which Chromebooks will be part of their learning format, with also paper and pencil packets, and will also include additional learning with the RAME skills and lessons. Will they still learn Spanish to some degree? Instruction for the RAME program will be in the designated language of focus. They will receive Spanish, English, and if applicable, Mandarin instruction, each at a designated time. We've shared pretty much what the hours are going to be. We've shared sample schedules with you, and those will be much like the sample schedule I shared with you for the secondary schools, Riverbank High, Cardozo, and Adelante. It was just a template. Those specific schedules will be shared with you specifically from your administration. Let's see here. Just a review, the listed minutes mandated by the state and as designated by the district will be a minimum of 180 minutes in TKK per day, a minimum of 230 minutes for grades 1 through 3 per day, A minimum of 240 minutes for grades 4 through 8th, and then 240 minutes for 9th through 12th. Any student, at this time, any student who opts out of the RAME program for this year will have to re-register and be put in the lottery to re-enroll at a future time. So if you relinquish your RAME slot this year, consideration for that program will have to be part of a re-enrollment process. Let's see. I think I've gotten pretty much to the end of the list of questions that I had that have been provided. Are there any other driving questions, Ms. Fasella or Mr. Henderson, that you've seen?
You know, there seems to be a lot of questions about schedules and a lot of questions about print. I answered that it was the teachers who's doing the instruction will determine how much print students will be engaged in. And the schedules that constantly coming up about when are the elementaries getting their Chromebooks, when are the elementaries getting their Chromebooks.
So the schedules regarding elementaries getting their Chromebooks, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Henderson, but I think we're scheduled Monday and Tuesday of next week for Chromebook distribution. Now, how that specifically works, that doesn't mean that everybody needs to come rushing on Monday and Tuesday to pick up their Chromebook. There will be very delineated times for your students to pick up at their grade level. If you have more than one student that have multiple grade levels, well, then you pick the time that's most convenient to you. If you can't make the time that you are scheduled for, then make other arrangements with the school office about when you can come, and they will be responsive to those needs. That schedule for Chromebook distribution is forthcoming, and that schedule, and that's at both at Mesa and at Cal Avenue, and then the daily schedules will be delineated by your students' teachers. Then also, I did address the point about paper and pencil. We are trying to keep that to an absolute minimum in the sense that all of the activities and all the lessons and instructions and information that need to be shared can be shared virtually. We have, through Google Classroom, that capacity. And there is a video, I wish there was a video I wanted to share with you about how interactive Google Classroom is, how teachers can post lessons, how students can respond right there in that classroom through the Google Doc format. And it can all happen online. And so it is a very interactive process. Mr. Henderson.
Also, we will be posting help videos on how to use Chromebooks, and they will be being posted to this channel. So make sure if you click that little subscribe, when those videos come online, you'll get a notification that those help videos are available to you.
So here's a shameful post for our YouTube channel. All of our support videos and all this videos for student support and for parent support will be posted on this YouTube channel. So please hit that subscribe button, and that will allow you to have access, very seamless access to any information, any technological support that we provide. Those videos will be posted. And as I shared, we have different videos being developed now to show you exactly what the hardware of a Chromebook looks like, and then how to interact and how your student will interact with Google Classroom. So those videos are forthcoming, and they'll, again, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you'll have access, very seamless access to that information. I see Ms. Briggs has posted the time for Chromebook distribution for Cal Avenue, and that information is also available on their website. Thank you, Ms. Briggs. Any other burning questions that
we can answer? They're asking a lot of site-related stuff that we just don't. We can't know everything for every site. One question.
So one of the things that Ms. Fasella had just shared with me is that we are allowing for independence for our sites to address our students' needs to meet them where they are and take them where they need to go. That's why when I shared those samples of elementary school schedules, they said class period. They didn't say we're going to do math at this time, and then we're going to do language arts at this time, and then we're going to do this particular instruction at this time. Those are the times that we expect students to be engaged in coursework that can participate live. And the teachers will work with you and work with the students in terms of when to best address your needs and the needs of your students online. So they're your practitioners, they're your doctors, right? They're your educational and academic doctors. And they're the ones who will be running the prescription to best support your students. And so we've allowed them to create some flexibility in their schedules throughout. So you'll be getting more specific information from them when you find out who your student's teacher is and when you get your daily schedule and your Chromebook.
Are they sending home the math consumables?
We are sending home all curricular consumables. All the consumables we have for Benchmark and for Eureka at elementary, and any consumables that we have at the secondary, those will be coming home. Those are the kinds of things that will help you interact with them. Again, I did share that we will not be, we're trying to keep that paper pencil to a limit, and your teachers will direct you on what actually needs to take place with those consumables once your
When will they
students
find out
complete.
who their teacher is?
That's a great question. Ms. Briggs and Ms. Ott, if you're online, can you chime in?
And Miss Rojas, she's there.
And Ms. Rojas.
We don't have that answer.
That's a great question. Boy, I miss that opportunity to meet with kids and get them excited about school and when or who their teacher will be. Okay.
Toner and ink. No, it's consumable book.
No, the toner and ink will not be part of the consumable interaction because we don't expect you to have to print. A lot of the instruction that you will do will either be done on the consumables that we give you, or will be integrated technologically through Google Classroom.
Maybe you can clarify that a consumable is a workbook.
A consumable is thank you, Ms. Fasella. A consumable is a workbook. So when I send home a workbook for you or something, it's the one that has all of the information printed on it, and you're basically filling in the blanks, or engaging in activities that are defined in that consumable.
Okay, Mrs. Briggs says that she sent home the letters today, so they
Yes.
should find out who their teacher is Thursday or Friday when the letter comes in the mail. I did not see a response from Mrs. Ott.
Thank you, Ms. Briggs. I did not realize that information was included in that letter, but I did share with you that Ms. Briggs did send those letters home today, and I do believe that Ms. Ott will be sending those letters home tomorrow. I apologize for that little information about the information related to your student's teacher. So I know it's kind of like Christmas. It's kind of like opening your Christmas present and finding out that you won the lottery.
We appreciate everybody's patience. This is just a challenging time, and our administrators are doing the best they can do.
So, Ms. Fasella just shared with me that she would like me to share with you that this is a very challenging time, and I think we've shared this time and time again, and you will continue to hear it. It's a fluid situation. It's an evolving situation, and I will be 100% transparent with you right here, right now. What instruction looks like on Monday, on Thursday, Friday, and Monday will be much different than what it will look like in 2 weeks as we work through these processes, as we work through the guidelines, as we work through your availability and your students' availability and what works best for your children. We will have to make adjustments, and we will work through that. So we do appreciate you spending some time with us this evening. Again, I want to apologize for last week's snafu. At this point, we will be sending all our information will be through now. Our office staffs and our administration are at their site. So as I shared with you earlier in the presentation, any specific questions about your students and about the information, your Chromebooks, all that needs to be directed to your school sites. And Again, we thank you for your participation. We thank you for your questions. There's Miss Ott.
Yep, she said she.
Parents are encouraged to phone Mesa, and we will try to answer any and all questions. And Miss Ott, those letters that you will be sending home, do they have the students' teachers identified in those letters? If you could respond in writing.
It's also available on the parent portal. All their schedules, the teachers, all.
Yeah, you know, the problem is that you're gonna have to get into the whole conversation about the parent portal. Call the school site if you need assistance, they'll direct you where to go.
Just remember, the school site staff is on site, and they are available with any questions. And Miss Ott said, yes, those letters that are going out tomorrow will have Mesa Verde students' teacher information. So, California Ave forthcoming, Cardozo and Riverbank High School, that will happen scheduling with the roundup days tomorrow and Friday, and the Bruin days tomorrow and Friday. And I believe that Miss Rojas is online and sharing information related to RLA. So thank you, Ms.
And
Rojas.
TK and K will get their devices when they meet with their teacher at orientation, correct?
Thank you for that. TK and K will not get their devices until they meet with their teachers, which will happen on Thursday and Friday of next week. Their first 2 days will be engaging with their teachers one-on-one by
Picking up
receiving
the
their devices and other materials, and you as parents providing that, and those schedules will be forthcoming from your school sites. So, with that, I know that that there's a ton of uncertainty and a ton of questions. We appreciate your patience and your participation. We were available to answer any questions that come our way. And again, want to apologize for the snafu from last week, and hope that this week was much more. There was much more information that we had to share, and was much more definitive. And although there's still a lot of questions to be answered specifically, we can now direct you to your school offices and your administration to answer those questions. And we appreciate the opportunity to work with your community and with your students. And we look forward to as successful a year as we possibly can put in place for our students. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for your flexibility and willingness to give us some flexibility as we work through this together. Remember, we're in this together, and we wish you and your families the best. Stay healthy, wash your hands, and don't forget to wear your mask. Thank you very much, and have a good evening. Good night.